Jeff is one of the most controversial characters in all of Marvel Rivals. Since his introduction to the game, people either worship the ground that he has walked on, or people despise Jeff to their core. But does he actually deserve all of the hate that he gets? Let's talk about it. YouTube, what's going on, man? It's Father Dark here bright and early on a Monday morning. Hope everybody's having a great start to their week. First, before we get into the video, one thing that I do want to say is that we have a PC versus console tournament coming up in our Discord server in the next couple of weeks. And we do need some more people for the higher end on the console side. So if you're someone who wants to rep for the console group and you feel like you're really skilled console player, and you're someone who's consistently hit Celestial Plus every season, that's kind of where you settle at. I would definitely recommend joining the server so that you can show your stuff in regards to the console side. Because like I said, we have plenty of people for more like the middle section of console, and we have more than enough people for all of that in regards to PC. But like I said, if you're someone who has constantly hit Celestial Plus on console, I would definitely recommend joining. If you're having a hard time finding it, the link is going to be in the description of the video, and it's also in my bio under more info. So just click that link, join up. We have a really chill community of people. We have everyone in there from one above all players, everything in between that, all the way down to people that have just started playing. We got men, women in there, all different ages. And, like I said, there's also just people in there that play other games as well, which we have channels for pretty much anything you can think of, from Street Fighter to Fortnite to Minecraft. So whatever it is that you're into is definitely a reason to join. Now, let's go ahead and get into the video. So, Jeff, like I was saying in the intro, Jeff there is no in between with Jeff. People either hate Jeff or they love Jeff. And when I say love, I mean literally like a cult-like following. But let's just talk about like why people have had such an issue with Jeff. The first thing that comes to mind is the fact that Jeff has always kind of been like an off healer, meaning that he is not going to necessarily do the same type of healing as a Cloak and Dagger, a Luna, an Invis, a Rocket, or anything like that. But that's the thing about that is that he makes up for that in the fact that he has extremely high survivability. He's really good for flanking and stuff like that. So what happens is that a lot of time when people start in the main screen and they're doing the character selection, a lot of people don't want to have to play support if they don't have to. Most people, this game we already know, are extremely DPS heavy. So as soon as the screen starts up, you always have the three people that try to insta-lock DPS, and then it's left up to the other, couple of people that are there to say, oh God, okay, now I gotta play tank, or I gotta play support. And when people see that someone has picked a support player, a lot of times they don't really think about, is this support actually like a constant support, or is this an off support or off heal or whatever? They usually would just say, oh, I see that there's a Jeff and a Luna, we're good now, right? And the thing is that most of the people that would play Jeff, they would usually spend most of the match trying to flank. So you basically would kind of leave everything on the one healer that's left, the Luna, the Cloak and Dagger, etc. And a lot of times that just doesn't work out when you're going against a team that does have two consistent healers, and it kind of becomes a battle of attrition in regards to the healing output and stuff like that. And it just puts a lot of weight on the one healer that's left, and usually Jeff is the one that's getting a lot of blame for that. And like I was saying, you have a lot of people that when they played Jeff, they spent the majority of their time trying to flank with him, and they'll sit back and they'll say, oh, well, I got value because this Iron Fist or the Spider-Man or whoever spent the whole match like chasing me, and that was so fun, and I love Jeff. The other thing too is, like I said, it's kind of a situation where the people that play Jeff, they only play Jeff because it's kind of like a cult-like following. Their whole entire identity is kind of wrapped up in Jeff. They find any reason they can to jump into any conversation and start going, oh, well, Jeff is viable because of this or because of that or yada, yada, yada. And it's very irritating because a lot of times you do need people to be able to switch and play different things for different situations. And Jeff is not suitable in every situation. Not to mention, he's really not good in a two-healer comp and hasn't been. The other thing, too, that's irritated a lot of people is that he didn't have a healing ult. Now, I know that they've changed that in Season 4, and I'll get to that in a moment. But prior to that, he didn't have a healing ult. And, there's a lot of people that get really like defensive about supports having support ults. They sit back and they say, oh, well, it's kind of boring when every support has a healing ult. And my thing is like, when you're going up against two supports that have healing ults and they're getting those numerous times throughout the game, that's really hard to compete with when you don't have a healing ult, because maybe people pick two supports that don't really have healing ults, or they're not being used in that regard, kind of like an Ultron where he could choose to heal, but most of the time Ultrons just choose to try to DPS with their ult. Let's just be honest here. And that gets very, very frustrating. And the thing is that now they have changed it to where he does leave behind the healing pool. Now the healing pool lasts for like 8 seconds, and I think it does like 400 instantly, and then it does like 80 or something, or 100. You can let me know in the comments if I'm wrong about that, but it does do a decent amount of healing. And the fact is that not only does he get that healing pool, but he's actually able to displace people still. So in my opinion, his ult is actually better than a lot of other supports where basically they only do healing, or even like with a Luna Snow where you can choose to go in between getting extra damage or doing the healing. But it's still not as comparable, in my opinion, to like a Cloak and Dagger where you have that constant healing where you're pretty much almost invincible without being like, hit with a one-shot ult for a period of time. But at the same time, though, it also does damage as well simultaneously. So that's definitely far more beneficial. But I definitely think that the rework that they've done in regards to his ult is a lot better. Now, the thing is that this is the dark side of Jeff players, and what has really gotten people to get to a point to where when you say his name, the people that aren't worshiping Jeff absolutely despise him, and why there's no in between. We have all been in a ranked match before where we have been eaten by Jeff and thrown off of a cliff. And sometimes it's accidental. Sometimes it's a situation where the Jeff eats you and he's like, listen, I got 3 people. I'm willing to make the trade where it's me and you for these other 3 people. Maybe they don't realize it. And then you have the trolls. Now, these are the people that, like I said, have been the biggest detriment in regards to Jeff's reputation. These are the people that they will eat you in spawn and spit you out. These are the people that will wait until you've deleted everyone on the team and you're about to secure the point, and they will eat you and throw you off. These are the people that when you're fighting and it's overtime and there's only one person left, they'll eat you, spit the enemy out or whatever. Or actually, I don't know if they can do that, but still, you get what I'm saying, though. They'll sit there and troll. And so many times people have said, oh, well, we were so close to winning this, and then the Jeff ate me, or they ate me in my ult, or whatever the case is, and caused us to lose the game. And like I said, not every single Jeff player is like that. But when you have a character that is designed in the way that Jeff is designed, which I think that is probably one of the poorest designs in the game when it comes to not giving players agency over the fact that they should be able to spit themselves back out, or have some type of prompt that even allows them to not be eaten to begin with, because there are so many crucial moments where you're trying to do something and the Jeff comes along and he's like, oh, well, I'm going to pop my ult now, and they completely just mess the whole entire thing up, or they do it on purpose to be petty. Whatever the case is, it doesn't matter. The end result is that Jeff himself has too much agency over the game. Now, are there other characters that you control within the game? Kinda. You have like Groot, for example, where he can wall people off and spawn. He can block people off from getting in certain areas or whatever. Maybe you have someone one shot and then Groot decides to put a wall up. And like I said, not all times is this even trolling. Sometimes this is just stuff that people do. And maybe it's because the Groot himself was weak and he was trying to save himself, not realizing that the person behind him had the person that was making him weak one shot. So there are situations where you kind of have like similar, things in regards to Jeff and the trolling and stuff like that, or just people being frustrated with that character and the amount of agency they have over the game. But for the most part, though, there is no one else that can literally just kidnap you and decide to swim around with you for however long and take you off the point, or just delete you. And that's something that has caused people to really feel a particular way about Jeff. Now, the thing is like I was saying earlier, there are exceptions to everything. So I personally know, like in our server, if you're not new to the channel, if you are new to the channel, I've mentioned one of 4 before. She's one of the mods in the server. And before Jeff's rework, she stopped playing Jeff to start playing Magneto after he got reworked. Prior to that, she pretty much like popularized Jeff in the server. People used to look at him as a throw pick, and then one came along and one used Jeff, and she would absolutely demolish, to the point to where people were having PTSD and nightmares about Jeff. People waking up in cold sweats going, oh God, is Jeff flanking me? Oh my God, and then we also have Cat Black as well. And these are people that not only were able to get high healing with Jeff, but they were also able to get eliminations, and not just get eliminations, by proximity, but they were actually getting final hits and stuff like that. So there are exceptions. There are people out there who really understood how to play Jeff on a extremely high level, and people that had invested a lot of time into Jeff to be able to learn all the intricacies and stuff like that in regards to his kit and just how to use him in general. And then you have the random people that just randomly decide to pick up Jeff. Now, Jeff is one of those characters where he's seemingly kind of easy to like pick up. But like with a lot of characters in the game, there's a difference between just picking Jeff up and just standing in place and you know, just healing people, popping a few bubbles out every now and again, swimming around and, you know, eating some people every now and again and throwing them off of a cliff. There's a big difference between that and these people that actually fully understand how to utilize Jeff's kit. I was watching a video the other day with Flats, and he was showing Jeff in some pro play. Now, I don't know. You guys can let me know in the comments. I don't know if this was for the Ignite tournament or if this was just some scrim matches with pro players or just some random matches or whatever. But they actually both had Jeffs on their team. Now, if I'm not mistaken, this was in a 3-healer comp. And it's not saying that Jeff can't work in a 2-healer comp, but for the most part, though, you're probably going to want 2 consistent healers and then have Jeff as that off healer. And back when we had the Ignite tournament, there were definitely teams that had utilized Jeff and did really, really well with him. And it caused a lot of people to sit back and say, see, you know, all the hate that Jeff is getting is undeserved. People just used him in this pro tournament, yada, yada, yada. And the thing is that people have to understand there is a massive difference between people that literally do nothing but eat and sleep and play this game all day long on a pro level, not just because there's a big difference between you doing something every day but doing it incorrectly or just kind of like on a mid-level versus someone who is doing this on a pro level and is an actual pro player and, like I said, understands this person's kit and all the intricacies behind it to that kind of degree and level, right? Versus the people that are just picking him up and playing him. Like I said, the everyday average player that's just picking him up and 9 times out of 10 throwing a match with them because they're not on that level. There's a massive difference there. And lately, you've had different people. I know Boger, he's came out, and I can't really tell if he's trolling or not by saying that Jeff is meta. And then he also did his tier list, and he actually had Jeff in the S tier. I don't know if I would take it that far to say that Jeff is that good. But at the same time, though, like I said, in a lot of different situations, he can be really, really good, especially when people understand how to use him. I've seen it myself. Like I said, there are people in our server that when they pick Jeff, it's not something where I'm looking at it like, oh, this is going to be an issue. I'm very comfortable that they understand that character so well that they can fully utilize that character, right? So with that being said, to answer the question of the video, does Jeff deserve the hate that he gets? No, Jeff himself obviously does not deserve the hate. There is no character that really deserves the hate that they get in the game. There's people who use these characters incorrectly, and they deserve all of that hate. Not actual hate, but you get what I'm saying, though. They should be called out on it. They should be, you know, just told like, hey, maybe you should try something else because this ain't really it. You know what I'm saying? And healing is a very important part of the game. Try to go into a game and not get healed. We all know the expression, GG no heals, right? People like to think that this is just some super easy thing, but if you don't understand that character, you don't understand the timing, if you're using your healing ults incorrectly and the enemy team is doing the antithesis of all of those things, you're going to see it. This is one of the first things that happens at the end of the match. If people look and they see that the supports have low healing, they have 0 eliminations, people are going to sit back and immediately go, what were you doing? This is why we lost. If you would have picked this person or done that, things would have turned out differently. And a lot of times it's not always necessarily their fault. Like, for example, if you spent the whole game getting dove by Magic and Iron Fist and Black Panther and Captain America, and your team was fighting one person poorly and never peeling for you or helping at all, there's more that goes into it. But a lot of times, though, it is just a situation where if the supports aren't doing their job, it's going to show. And I feel like it shows a lot more than anything else. I mean, yeah, tanks need to make space, DPS need to get eliminations and stuff like that, but it's very hard for them to do any of those things if they're not being healed well in comparison to the enemy team, right? And it comes down to a mathematical thing that Jeff can be standing right there healing everyone, and if he's just not putting out nearly as much healing as the Luna Snow or something, what do you think is going to happen? It comes down to a battle of attrition, and the attrition aspect is the heals, right? So do I think that Jeff himself deserves any of the hate anymore? No. There was a time maybe where, you know, like I said, on this channel, I've done plenty of crash outs. And this isn't like I've been wrong about Jeff all this time, because Jeff is probably one of the most reworked characters in the game. I mean, other characters have had reworks, but I feel like to the degree that Jeff has been reworked to the point to where that was one of the most controversial things. You had all these people that had spent all this time learning how to really master Jeff, and they just completely changed how his kit worked. Now, a lot of people actually liked Jeff's rework, but I feel like none of the people that really played Jeff to begin with actually enjoyed his rework. Anybody who used to play him that still plays him now, I feel like they've just kind of adapted to it. But I did notice a lot of people that didn't play Jeff actually felt like he was more viable now, or they just at least liked the way that his rework was done. Now, me personally, I do think that there are a lot of instances where Jeff can really be a problem, like the fact that when he's doing his splash and he's just, shooting it down like a straight line or something like that, he's healing and he's also doing damage. And even though it's not like a lot of damage or a lot of healing, it's just the fact that it's just consistently doing that little bit of damage, and the fact that it's really easy for him to finish off flyers and stuff like that because he can just kind of like spray it all around, pause, right? And it's like, it can really add up. And like I said, I do think that there are a lot of situations where Jeff is really, really good, especially in a 3 healer comp. Can he work in a 2 healer comp? Yes and no. But at the same time, like I said, everything is situational. Not every single game is going to be the same. There's a lot of times where stuff is working in a match and I go, why is this working? This is weird to me. It might be a Jeff and a Mantis, but it might balance out because dead people don't do damage. So if this Jeff and this Mantis are cooking people, they don't really need to heal as much as someone else. I've had plenty of games where there were the other supports on the other team had twice as much healing, but I had like 3 or 4 times the elimination as a support player, and they still lost. And it's because, like I said, dead people do not do damage. So if people are back in the spawn room or spectating because they just got deleted, there's not really, you don't have to do as much healing. So every situation is different, but there's times where that's just not the case. There are times where you're going up against equally skilled teams and they're not going to allow you to get back there to be able to start deleting people and stuff like that. So you do have to have very consistent healing. And that's why, boys and girls, you should be adapting and being able to flex and play different, characters and different roles as well when need be. But, I'm going to wrap this video up. I just wanted to kind of talk about Jeff a little bit because I do think it's important. There's a lot of people that still have a lot of just vitriol for Jeff in regards to when he gets brought up. I mean, anytime that I hear Jeff get brought up, people immediately are like either, oh my God, I love Jeff, I worship the ground he walks on, or it's a case where people are like, Jeff, I can't, anybody that, plays Jeff is this or that. And this is why Jeff deserves left, like with the little future meme and stuff. But still though, like I said, he's had so many changes be done to him. And I really do think that the devs have like a soft spot for Jeff, kind of like Luna, to where they're trying as hard as they can to make Jeff not be as hated as he has been, but I don't think that it's deserved as much anymore. I definitely don't think people should be as fearful when they see a Jeff on their team, but at the same time, though, I think people do need to understand that there's a big difference between these more what are looked at as consistent healers versus a Jeff that is a very specialized kind of like healer, and he can be really good in certain situations and be terrible in other ones. And to the trolls out there that like to eat your teammates, I'm sorry that no one loves you, man. I'm really sorry that that's what your life is loading into a game and eating people and throwing them off cliffs. I'm really, really sorry for you, and I feel terrible that you'll never know what the warm embrace of a woman feels like. So, there's that, right? But let me know in the comments, though, what you guys think about Jeff. Do you think he's better now? Do you think he's worse? Does the fact that he has a healing ult on top of being able to displace people as well still, do you think that, that's something that you think is better for him or worse or whatever? I'm always really interested to hear what you all think. Those are just my personal opinions. Like I said, I actually took the time to play a little bit of Jeff myself, which is something that I've never had the urge to do. I don't think I've ever played Jeff prior to season 4. And I'm not going to lie, the first time I did it was because I was during a stream. Someone had, just said like, hey, just play Jeff. And, I did. But at the same time, though, me, myself personally, there has been a few times, especially with the rank reset, I felt like it kind of opens it up to where I don't feel bad about using certain characters that I don't normally use in a lot of times in a lot of situations. And I've had some games where I've learned that Jeff wasn't the best pick there. And I've had some games where I absolutely went crazy. I think I had a game where I got like 40-something eliminations with a pretty decent amount of healing playing Jeff, especially once I got a little bit more comfortable with his kit and stuff like that. So like I said, he can definitely be a problem a lot of times, but at the same time, just like anything else, there's exceptions. There's times where he's not good. So, but I definitely am curious to hear what you all think. Do you think that the hate is overblown with Jeff? Do you think that he's not getting enough hate? Do you just kind of feel impartial to Jeff? You just don't really care? Anything in between that? So let me know in the comments, though. I definitely am interested to hear what you all think. I do appreciate you all for watching. That's all I have for this video, so I'm going to wrap it up. I'm Father Dark, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.